call in beloved Prime Creator energy, and we thank you for this time to reflect on its importance. When we put our individual awareness on your divine presence, we move through our days with greater meaning as to how and why we move and do what we do. Whatever our activity or thoughts, this awareness infuses our calling, our work, the raising of our children, and our choices with a perspective of purpose and determination. It is an awareness of gratitude for the most basic of gifts we have been given, for sight and insight, for bodily function, for eyes to see and a brain to cognize, for sinew and muscle that allows us to move and move things. Without this spiritual awareness and gratitude, our lives can become directionless, or we make choices that lead to unfortunate outcomes. 2 of the 7 deadly sins are sloth and greed that are replete in our governance. We pray that the entities within our governance see the importance of these principles and employ divine presence into their positions. Their oath is a good way to begin this conversion away from collusion in unjust laws and control to a way of performing true service to others. Let it be so.
Thank you, Charlie.
Hello, my name's Ron Vroom, and I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. This is for Cliff High, Cousin Cliffy. In your epic suit against the powers that should not be, I'd like to join you. I'd also like to join you as a private attorney general, and I think I might be able to rustle up a couple more that would join in that with you. I see you're thinking of doing it pro se. Pro se means you give the jurisdiction to the court that is hearing it. If you put a caveat to that maybe it's pro se, provided they provide their bona fides as is required by law, that's one way to go pro se, where you can be relatively safe. You can also do it sui juris, and there's a cut above sui juris if you wish to go that way, and that's that you do not give them the authority to have jurisdiction over you. So are you doing it as a body, mind, spirit, flesh, blood, soul man on Washington? Well, Washington is a federal district. It is not one of the several states. It's a de facto organization. De facto, page 416, Black's Law, 6th edition. It's illegal and illegitimate. It's there. We know it. We have to deal with it. It exists, comma, illegal and illegitimate. That much is done. We don't have to discuss that anymore with those folks. The de facto has to back down from the de jure. And so far on Oregon, it has. The next thing is, what court are you going to file it into? Because the only court constitutionally where a man or a woman, actual people on the land and soil, not a fictitious all cap version of your name, that man on Washington, the only court that man can find constitutional remedy is in an Article 3 court. So it's best to find out which court you're filing into, because it could very well be an Article 3 judge in an Article 1 court, a special court that you gave jurisdiction to, pro se. But you might not want to do that. You might want to go into the proper court of record, one Supreme Court claiming original jurisdiction, that court constitutionally, I don't think you have all of the information that you need. Now, I listen to you and I love, I should get a whiteboard and talk about the things that you talk about, and we appreciate it. But you're taking on the United States of Washington, District of Columbia, Inc., the de facto organization operating out of that area since 1861. The feds, the federal. If you want to see how bad it is, look at the Nevada Constitution. It's not a state either. So Oregon is the 33rd and the last legitimate state among the several states. And we're on Oregon. We're the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, the provisional government on Oregon. And we have an Article 3, Amendment 7 court, but we don't leave Oregon because that's our jurisdiction. However, under Article 3, you can bring your case to our court, and with a claim of cognizance, you do not absolutely have to give jurisdiction to whatever court is offered to you. You can maintain dual jurisdiction with the de jure body, mind, spirit, flesh, blood, soul people on the land and soil. Definitions. An Article 3 court, which is the constitutional court in law and equity, as well as admiralty, but we are not in admiralty. Men and women are not in that jurisdiction. They're in the jurisdiction of law, common law, and equity. That's where we abide. The all cap version of our names, which is what all of the federal courts are and all of the state and county courts are, those folks can only deal with the all cap version of your name. And if you give them jurisdiction and assume that mantle of the all cap version of your name, then they have jurisdiction and you gave it to them pro se. That's what it means. But if you use a caveat on the pro se that they have to actually comply with the laws and ordinances, statutes, and codes that require them to assume that jurisdiction that you're going pro se under, then that's your decision in pro se. However, there is sui juris, and that's a little bit more of a distinction. In sui juris, you give no jurisdiction. You're in that court, but you give no jurisdiction as you're a sovereign being. And there's another one above sui juris that I can't recall. If Charlie was here, she would say it.
Propria persona?
No, sui juris is in propria persona, yes. But this one is the one that Dave's under in his paperwork. Rick made me aware of it. Charlie's got it in memory. I don't. But it's another declaration of jurisdiction. But if you're going into
NSA. Is it NSA? ESSE? Something along those lines? I could be wrong.
you're probably right. I don't recall. But it's an identifier. So then, if you're going into their court And the only court that can give jurisdiction remedy to a man or a woman is an Article 3 court constitutionally. No other court can do that. But when you read Article 3, it says one Supreme Court with a small o, a small s, and a capital C. One Supreme Court claiming original jurisdiction. Original jurisdiction ceased on the land and soil of the 48 contiguous states and territories, March 1861. We have been under color law since then, a form of martial law and the Lieber Code since then on all the land and soil of the 48, and they all agree and accept it because all of the state of Oregon and the state of everywhere else has agreed to be a subdivision of the United States of Washington, District of Columbia, Inc., and what's left of their 10-mile square. That's what you're dealing with on Washington. So the jurisdiction of Washington is a territorial jurisdiction of the United States of Washington, District of Columbia without the Inc. The unincorporated, not-for-profit, de jure jurisdiction of the United States, which has not existed for a really long time. They have a de facto form of it. And that's what you're putting your case into. Now, if you know in advance what you're doing and you write your paperwork with that knowledge, then you're protecting yourself on how you're doing it. And you're doing it not with ignorance. So, the court that is an Article 3 court, the one that constitutionally can provide you remedy, is on Oregon. And I'm a member of that court. In fact, I'm court clerk, along with 12 others. So Article 3 says the nearest Article 3 court, and that's Oregon, because you're on a territory, a federal territory. You don't have any unalienable rights. Unalienable rights come with states, not territories. You haven't gotten there yet. You think you have, but legitimately and lawfully, constitutionally, and de jure, you're not. However, as you're a man, you can change your jurisdiction to that of the flesh and blood, and you can file into our Article 3 court also, and we will provide you with a claim of cognizance that will ensure your dual jurisdiction as you go into their all-cap version of your name with as much knowledge as you can get, and the help of private attorney generals across America, and the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. I think I got it. Anybody got anything else? Good. Okay. I yield.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying, and then he jumps out of the car, and he's got both his hands up. And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, "Just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me." And they did. They shot him dead. with his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times.